Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Scoreboard Media. Scoreboard Media works with high schools across the country to run professional sponsorship programs on their LED scoreboards. Whether you already have LED and you just want to supercharge the revenue, or you want to use sponsorship revenue to buy new LED video scoreboards, Scoreboard Media can help. They work with sponsors and advertisers locally, regionally, and nationally who want to connect with your school's community. Email info@scoreboardmedia.com to start the conversation and see what's possible.
You know, we mentioned fun and competitive. Like, what a great goal for us is the hour and a half we have after school, 2 hours, for that time to fly by and for our players to have this feeling of, golly, like it was challenging. I'm tired, but I can't wait to come back tomorrow. And I think the more that we can get at, this is what players want. Like, looking back at that's what, kind of going back to the inside foot, step footwork versus drop. If I really think back to when I played, the practices at my high school where I'd peek out the window to see if it was dark yet, because if there's no clock, but I knew once it started getting dark, we were almost done. Like, I don't want that for my players. I want that we're done. We finish on a high note. We celebrate each other. I ask them what celebrations they have, because it's really fun to see what they thought of practice, what they thought of each other. Man, Johnny, I thought you really, really busted it today. Like, you learn a lot about your team when you give them that time. But then when they stay after, they grab the balls. And I don't know, I love the idea of like, hey, before you leave, get this and this and this done. My opinion is I just want them to be there. I want them to want to be in the gym. If they're playing one-on-one, if they're trying to dunk, if they're just sitting on the bleachers and we're talking, like, those are those moments that I think you and I we miss as players. We definitely, for darn sure, don't miss 2-on-0 closeouts.
No. Again, like, why do we love basketball? Why do kids love basketball? Because it's fun to play.
Yeah.
They go to a practice and they don't get to play basketball. They do boring, monotonous, fundamental drills. And these kids come to my workouts and they're like, Coach, and they have a lot of fun because it's opposite of what they're doing in the traditional setting with their coach. And I had a kid the other day I said, show me what you do for ball handling at your high school. I should just show, because I want you to kind of mentor this young kid and to show him something. He goes and does the Don Showalter start, stop, and turn. 2 dribbles, jump, stop, pivot. Like, that's what you're doing at your high school practice to help ball handling? Well, yeah, pivoting. But that's not in-game contact. Like, what's going to happen, like you said, when a guy's guarding you and body and you got to pivot this way and you can't pivot that way and you have to bring the ball over the top instead of there's just so many things that, like, I can make that drill. I can say, hey, you guard him. You're allowed to take 2 or 3 dribbles anywhere you want so that he can't cheat, because you could take 2, but you could take 3. And then you have to pivot 3 times. And then you can dribble wherever you want again. You can go backwards, sideways. You could take 2 or 3. And then you jump stop and you have to pivot 3 times. And defense's job is to try to be all over and get a deflection. And you can dribble anywhere you want on the court, right? Well, I can make that much more task representative in like a game, but I can still work on pivoting. I can work on the exact same things. And I can work on guarding the dribble, right? Trying to stay in front, trying to shake the ball. But there's just so many ways that we can do better as coaches instead of the old, boring, traditional ways. And like you said, in our day, it would be like guards on this end with so-and-so coach and the bigs are down here. But then in the game, like, somebody comes at the pick and roll and I'm going against a 6'10" dude. So why aren't we doing player development where we're together? Like, hey, it just doesn't make sense the way things have been done, and it still stands the test of time, right? We did it this way. Coach so-and-so did it this way. He won a state title. Coach Krzyzewski did it this way. But it's not that that's bad. It's just, is there a better way to help players improve and get better and develop? And there is. And the reason I know there is because there are scientists that are way smarter than any coaches, and they say this is the best way to do these things.
And for any of the coaches, I think that maybe are like me or have been like me in the past, of that you hear all this stuff you're talking about. It, man, it sounds good and it sounds fun, and I would love to see my players out there firing passes that or they're flying around, and we got defense playing everything. That they may think I'm not creative. I don't know how to make these things that you're talking about. I think a good place to start is your style of play. The offense that you do run, break it down, and just figure out ways where you can get them in. Because I don't think all 5 players moving at the same time is ever good. In fact, I want to use movement sparingly. I want to move to dangerous places or to create a gap, but then I want to get set and I want them shot ready to. And if they're daring their defense, go help. Like they want them to do that. But if we're cutting around or like what is he, Jackie Moon in semi-pro says, I'm going rover, coach. If they're just going rover, then you're never going to have spacing. But you take those actions that you have and that you know your players are going to have to, and create the games that you're talking about. Create the drills and the skill work so that you're not just on a straight line in space for no reason. They're doing things. One coach said that we want our players to feel comfortable and familiar in games. Well, there's only one way to do that, unless you can play 100 games and over time hope they get there. But in most high schools, we don't have that much. I mean, we play 40 here in Texas. That's a lot of games, but practice, we practice way more. We want them to feel offensively or defensively comfortable in what we're trying to achieve. I know I can do this, and familiar. I've been here before. Like I've done this before. The only way to achieve that, though, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and watching your game film and seeing like little slices of the game, and then how can I make a small-sided game, and then get my guys, a lot more comfortable in those problem-solving, and a lot of coaches will call and say, Coach, I love small-sided games, but it's not game-like, it's not representative because they have all this space in 3-on-3, and it's like, Coach, you control the playing boundaries, though. All you have to say is like, we're playing from here. Yeah. The imaginary wall, if you come over here, it's out of bounds. I'm standing right here. If anybody comes past me, it's out of bounds. Make them play in the spaces you want to make them play in. But like you said, there are coaches that go to clinics, right? And they see this awesome drill that so-and-so did. Mike Neighbors did this amazing drill, and they go back and they do this drill, and it's like you don't even play that way. Like
that's right.
You don't even play fast in transition. So why are you working on that drill? That's a great drill, but that's because Mike Neighbors plays that way, right? He's smart, but it's the curse of the clinic, right? We put all this stuff in, and it's like, why would I even do that drill? You don't even do that in the game. It's not even your offensive philosophy or defensive philosophy. And so again, it's watching game film, reverse engineering, and saying, okay, here's what's happening the most in our offense. And like you said, sometimes people come to my workouts and their parents will just scream out and yell, move, you got to move. Stop. Hey.
You stay there.
His defender is helped all the way to the paint. Why would he move?
Don't be creepy. Don't be creepy.
Face. That's right. Like he's just trying to, that's PG.
One of our, yeah. Don't be creepy. Kids typically don't want to be told that they're creepy in general. So Absolutely. It's a good way to get at that insecurity of, I don't want to be creepy. But you see it, and man, great story with Joe Crispin, which offense wins. One of the best books I've ever read. And his whole let the game teach the game, playing fast. But I had him on. That was a really fun talk. But he's telling this story about he's with the Lakers, and he didn't get to play with them very long, but Kobe has the ball on the opposite elbow. He's in the left corner, and Robert Horry's in the stretch up above him. And Kobe's catching it. He's just reading. He's waiting to see how he's guarded and what other guys do. And Joe starts to creep out of the corner towards Robert Horry. And Robert Horry says, where are you going? Just in this moment of just authenticity, he goes, I don't know. I'm just moving. I think that happens a ton. We're just moving. And then so when you watch, like, coaches get upset of why guys aren't more aggressive with the ball, trying to take their guy or attack gaps, I think most players have to do what they see. If they see a space that's closing with a defender and a teammate moving towards them, they're not going to be as aggressive. They're not going to take it, but then they're getting yelled at to do it, and then that turns into the turnover and the single gap, but they're mad at that player, but it's really that guy that's taking away. Like you want to move away. You want to have gravity, right? You want to have gravity that be such a good shooter and be so far that that defender is pulled toward you so that it opens up space. But you nailed it, though, with maybe all of this is hard to hear because I would imagine if, like many coaches, want control of who takes the shot, when they take the shot, and where they take the shot, there is an idea that if you're going to run and gun and play in transition, I truly don't know every possession when it's live where those shots coming from. But that's part of the fun, though, too, where creativity, more buy-in to skill work, because each of them, if they're open and it's a 7, they have to take it. If they're able to, they feel like they can beat their defender, they're comfortable with that, and there's a gap they can go. But I think their style of play, if you're playing in transition and you're not calling plays, this is an idea that you really need to take a good look at.
Yeah, because again, the most 2 important skills in basketball, right, is decision making and positioning. So it's like what you're talking about. How are you working on those 2 skills with no defenses? So if you're talking about that, when to stay and when to hold and when to cut and when to move in space, you don't have the defense. You don't get to do those things. And there's this shared cognition, right? It's oh man, I thought he was going back door. Oh, he faked like he was going, and then I threw out of bounds. Well, again, how are we working on that shared cognition if we're doing it 2 on 3 on up? It's impossible to work on. So there's so many components by just adding defense, that you can do. Again, like kids that come to my work, especially the young kids, coaches just, for whatever reason, in the youth, I think it's just like pass and cut. So I have to break habits of why are you passing and cutting? The person that's guarding you is 7 feet off of you. Like, why don't you just face away or go and get the ball or do something? But you have to break the habits of just pass, cut. And
definitely don't basket cut and get your head under the rim. The only place where that ever works is 5-on-0. Because unless, or you're playing a team that sucks. And if you're playing a team that sucks, then anything works, really. You probably don't have to scramble at all because you're superior. If one can guard one without any type of help being needed, well, then that's just going to be a good night. And offensively, if that works, but you're right on the money, sharp cuts away, spacing away, creating more room for your teammates. One of the things that I like, because we do play in transition, so flow is what I tell our guys, when leather touches our fingertips, we're flowing. Live ball, or make or miss, whatever, we're going to flow. Don't look over at me. Our goal is to get the best shot as fast as possible. So race, right? The PGC term. We got to race. How do we know we're racing? Defense is uncomfortable. They're having to sprint back. We get the corners first. We have our alleys, and then the fifth guy finds a stretch. But one of the things I've seen is one concept we have is the open player must receive the ball. It's a super simple idea, but coaches are all, he's wide open, pass it. How do you not see that? I'm convinced that seeing open is harder than we make it sound, or it seems to us on the sideline. I think when you're handling it, racing, scanning defenders, it's easy to miss things that are right out there in front of you. So one of the best ways is take your 5-on-0 transition drill where you get it out of the net, point guard gets it easily and gets to up it to that player for a wide open 3 or a layup. And then the next guy goes and you circle all 5 through in a mid-half and we're fast. Yeah. I've done it. But put 2 defenders out there, and one at the half court and one at the free throw line, and circle, because we're positionless. I don't care who takes it out, and I don't care who brings it up. The only question I ask them, Mark Cassio said this, the only question I ask them is who doesn't want to be a point guard? Tell me the first day of practice, who's not comfortable being a point guard, bringing it up. And those guys that raise their hand, they can't be the one to catch the inbound. And if they rebound it, they have to up it really quick to somebody close. So once you get that established and that ball comes in, then instantly, who's more dangerous than me? If it's the guy right down in front of me, I have to up it right there, but I have to read that defender. But if there's only 2 of them out there, there's 5 of us, fellas. We're going to find a 7, an 8, or not preferably be an 8. 8's a contested layup, but a 7, a wide open jump shot, or a wide open layup, which is a 9. We're going to find that against a 5-on-2. And coach, this is what happens every year when we start this. We turn it over or we shoot a 6, a contested jump shot. Guys, listen, there's 2 of them. I don't want you to go slow, but through going fast, I want you to be decisive, find who's dangerous, figure out that we say 0.5 seconds, 0 seconds, move it, make the ball work. And then when they get comfortable, we're just getting open threes and offensive rebounds for finishes, add a third and then add a fourth and realize, like, who are your playmakers? Who are the guys that can really see that advantage and make it a bigger one, cash in or transfer? But to me, take your style of play and put them in those kind of situations.
Yeah, if you're a big push it up the floor, one of the best things, I just did this with Fayetteville High School the last few weeks, but you can play it 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, but just have 3 simple rules. Number 1, there's no out of bounds, right? Because again, you're just trying to work about transition. So you say, number 1, there's no out of bounds. Number 2, there's no fouls. Now, we're not trying to foul, right? But we're not calling fouls. Like if you start fouling just to kind of kill the drill, then I'm just going to sub you out. Like we're not trying to play basketball, but we're not calling any fouls. Because again, the whole emphasis is to play as fast as we can possibly play. And then the last one is there's no inbounds. So whether they miss or it goes through the net, we're right back up going the other way. You have those 3 simple rules in transition games, whether it's 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and then you can start to get into what you talked about. Any pitch ahead for a 3 or a pitch ahead for a layup's worth 4 points or whatever you want, points. So you're just trying to, again, constraints where you're trying to bring out some different, opportunities. And then you could even say time, like once the ball crosses half court, you got 6 seconds or, however you want to do it with your team. And you'd be amazed just by those simple, small-sided games, how much it's better. You'll start bringing out different skills of the pitch aheads and all that.
And this is where we get back to culture too, is giving them the opportunities to learn and make mistakes. Gannon Baker said, celebrate the try. I think one of the biggest things I'm doing early on, even within our gameplay, because our goal is to shoot 30 to 43s a game. It doesn't always happen that way, but if our pace is the way we want, that's typically where it lands. I don't care about the makes. We were 6 for 44 a few years ago, but I was really happy with about 42 of them, those attempts. So that's a win. But early on, I think what will stunt the creativity or the learning is if we are critical when the mistakes happen. Teach, yes. Give advice, ask questions, ask what they like, get to where you understand what they see. And so we can get, it's with shot selection. Instead of that's a bad shot. Hey, rate that shot. That was a 6. Yeah. Why do you think you took a 6? And not in a demeaning way. Well, I don't know. I think I thought I was more open. Well, if he's close to you, what could you do? Man, I could lift and I could attack. Like, or he had a 1, but teach through that. And I think what you get over time is them making less the mistakes, doing more of the things that you want them to see. But if you hammer them hard at the beginning, searching for perfection.
Yeah. What is Gannon? Gannon and I go way back too, but what does Gannon say?
Celebrate the try.
Yeah. So I say celebrate the decision, not the outcome. I just have, like, anytime we make a great decision was to shoot because you had space. If you airball, you airball it, right? Like, celebrate the decision, not the outcome. So again, it's that same thing as we got to celebrate the good decisions, because the more good decisions we make, obviously, as we get better throughout the year with our practice design and practice, we're going to start, right? We're going to be on the right. If we're making the good decisions and not so caught up in the outcome, if you're so outcome based, right? That's just not a great culture. It's the day to day, and it's hard to build that if you're just always worried about the outcome. The outcome's going to take care of itself if you're every day the process of developing and getting better. So
thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.